These old FEs sure are thirsty. She might be a clapped out old 360, but she can still light them up all right. Well, should be good for a few more trips over to the shop. Such a long trip and all. Hopefully it don't get that cold in these parts. So that oil that came out of here wasn't too bad, but it's been in here for a while, and it had a bunch of Marvel mystery oil in it to try and clean things out. But it was, I think it was just some 5W30 or 10W30 I had kicking around, and we're just putting some of the cheap stuff back in. Some 1040, just to see, get a bit of clatter when it warms up, so hopefully the 40 weight will help with that a little bit. I was actually going to get some Rotella 1540 diesel oil, run that for a bit to clean it out, but wasn't any available, so we'll run this for a bit. And if we still get clatter with this, then we might go even up to some 2050. But we're just trying to flush some gunk out of this thing. It's pretty dirty inside. If you saw the timing cover or the valve cover jobs, it's, she's getting tired. And I do have some Lucas Hot Rod and Classic 1040 here that I'll probably put in after this. So one other thing I noticed here is we got the big wet spot down there, and feeling around underneath, looks like our coil's leaking its guts out. It's only been on here for probably a year, but we've only got about an hour runtime on this truck, so it's a little disappointing. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the old coil back on here, and we'll get an epoxy filled coil to replace this one. You can see it there, but she's definitely leaking. Still got quite a bit of oil in there, but definitely not a good sign. Alright, so I went and swapped the old coil back in there. That one there is probably 20 plus years old, but it's oil filled, not leaking. And Pertronix doesn't recommend mounting their oil filled ones horizontally for obvious reasons. And I think it's simply just a quality issue. All the old coils would happily live on their sides, but these ones not so much. So I'll either hang on to this one or sell it, and we'll fire an epoxy one on there. And I had to go away the other weekend over to the Big Shitty, and we don't have a Princess Auto close by, so I popped into the one over there while I was there, and there's a big old sale on, so I had to get some stuff. Can't argue with the deals. I mean, some of this stuff, 50% off, they're pretty well giving it away. So I picked up a few odds and ends. This stuff's handy to have. These things always break, so a couple extra don't hurt. I got some Power Fister extra long extensions. These are only 17 bucks. They're cheap. You can really feel the quality on them is pretty crappy, but Not something you use often anyways, and as long as you don't throw the old 231 or the Aircat on these, they shouldn't break. Also picked up some long tapered punches, handy to have. I've only got some ones that are a little bit shorter than these, so these will come in handy. And of course, bigger is always better. That's what the ladies tell me anyways. All the way up to 14 3/4 inches. That ought to get the job done. These were cheap, couldn't say no. I think I paid $4 for these. Some O-rings. And just some cheap wire and nylon brushes. These things come in handy for scrubbing parts. And you used to be able to get them cheap locally here, but now they've gone up in price and you have to buy a bigger set, and it's just a bit of a pain. Actually grabbed 3 sets of these. They were only a couple bucks each. And there was a video I did a while back there about buying quality tools and when to buy the cheap stuff. Sometimes you just can't pass up the cheap stuff, so I'm going to find a spot for all this, call it a day. Probably actually end up putting these extensions to use. I'm going to go ahead and pull the block hugger headers off the 71 C10. We'll get started on getting the long tubes installed. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, be sure to do so you don't miss any of those future videos. And thanks to all the new subscribers who have joined us. Really appreciate your support. So as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.